Welcome back to the Lift Free and Diet Hard podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Coates. Join me along with industry leaders and friends on a quest to get more people through the gym door and eating and living healthier. Join me where evidence meets empathy while rejecting fitness industry fads and extremism. Let's begin. Jordan Syatt, this is a treat. People were asking for you. I know you were more or less retired from appearing on podcasts a while back. You were like doing tons of them all the time, and now it's family life. So I'm glad to have you back. Appreciate that you're here. You're an author, you're a father, you're a fitness entrepreneur, a very famous one in our world. And now I wanted to get into, well, I'm going to dive right into this. How has your personal approach to fitness changed since you became a father?
Well, first, man, thanks for having me back on the podcast. It's great to be here. Great to talk with you again. Great to see your face. Hope when you're in Dallas, we get to hang out. Um, my approach to fitness has changed so many times throughout the years, but I think I was literally just talking with my wife about this. Right now, it's the most balanced approach it's ever been. Like, I have some days that are strength focused. I have some days that are cardio focused. I have some days that are mobility focused. I have some days that are plyometric and jumping focused. And I don't run it on a 7-day week. It's more just like I have a list of things I need to hit within about a 15-day time frame, if you will. And I hit them when I hit them. And that's pretty much it. And like the one daily non-negotiable is I have to walk, which is at this point very easy. We live in the suburbs and I walk my dog every morning and we take a family walk every day. So we're always walking and moving, which is awesome. But it's far less of a strict, structured, periodized, okay, like this is like the acclimation phase and this is this phase. It's more just like, here are the qualities that I need to hit and I'm going to put them into I have a program, but it's like, here are the qualities I want to hit. I'm going to try and progressively overload them over the course of several months. And as long as I hit one of each workout within this time frame, I'm good. And I just need to improve. And that's literally it. And then about 6, 8, 10 weeks later, I'll change the program and that's it. I try and hit everything. So I'm not trying to hit, I'm not trying to only do max strength. I'm not trying to only do speed. I'm not trying to, it's like, I do everything. So it's very balanced.
And you've gone through seasons because anybody who's been, I've been watching your media for far longer than we've been friends. And I mean, you were a record-holding power lifter, 4 times body weight, West Side Barbell, training there, that sort of thing, which of course is a lot of specificity. You're also a young guy,
Correct.
incredible recovery capacity, and no family. So then you've had different iterations and seasons across your career. You've definitely been playing around with a lot of stretching and mobility stuff. I'll have Lucas Hardy coming up in the not too distant future because
Oh,
I know
nice.
you plugged into his stuff. He's going to be great on mobility stuff. I'll have Dean Somerset soon. Dean's mobility stuff is always great. And I'm seeing more and more of this stuff. So you've embraced this. You still do jujitsu because you had a big, pivot into a lot of jujitsu stuff. So how do you make all that stuff fit? Even, a bit more detail about making it all fit. Also, you have a business and you have a young family.
Yeah, I mean the main way that it fits in right now. So I have a 2.5-year-old terrorist, and I have like a 5-month-old munchkin, and then I have a almost a year old 100-pound donut of a dog. Um, it's insane in my house right now, and just to be candid, like I usually hit my workouts at some point between 9 p.m. and midnight. That's usually when I'm getting my workouts in right now, just because life is crazy. And the options are I either wake up way earlier, which I'm not like, I don't like to wake, I don't want to wake up at 4. I'm not waking up at 4, like just nope. So I'll wake up at 6 or 5:45, somewhere in the 5:45, 6 range. I get a bunch of work done. I then enough work where they can have breakfast with the girls. Then I work for a number of hours straight. And the like I get to make my schedule, but the option is either I'm going to work during that time or I'll get a workout in. And for me, like I'm much more creative at that point. I get my work done, so I get it all out of the way. And then by the time like somewhere between 3 to 5 comes, that's when it's like, this is family time. And so I don't work. I'm not going to use family time for my workout time. I'm not going to be missing putting my daughters down to go to bed. So I've decided that after I put my girls down to bed, That's when I get my workout in. And usually like I'll put them down, relax for like 30 minutes to an hour, hang out with my wife, then I go get my workout. So the way I fit it in is I'm working out really late at night, which is probably not like that ideal fitness influencer, like a relaxed morning. Like I wake up in chaos until I go to bed. That's basically it. Um, so it's an interesting juxtaposition between a balanced workout program, but a pretty chaotic life.
And I guess that chaos, the flexibility of choosing which workouts you feel like doing on a given day, as long as you check those boxes. As you're telling me that earlier, it reminds me of the idea that, if your calories across a week matters more than your calories across a day. Your daily protein goals, sure, but when you get to someone who's really struggling with their nutrition, as long as they're actually like kind of roughly the daily average they need across an entire week, even if some days are more, some days are less, that matters. So you approach your fitness almost the same way. Do you find that did you used to think in terms of rigid ways that programs had to work? How did you evolve out of that rigidity?
Yeah, man. I mean, I very much used to subscribe to, well, there are a number of things, but I'll start by saying I very much used to subscribe to about 72 hours rest in between working the same muscle groups. And like, there's no reason to wait longer than that. Like, waiting shorter than that could sacrifice recovery and all of that. But for me, I was like, why would I wait longer? I want to make as much progress as quickly as possible. I'm now at a point where like, I don't care how fast I make it's not about getting, because when the goal was 4 times body weight deadlift, or when the goal was competing in jiu-jitsu, or when the goal was whatever, um I had a deadline and a day by which I had to, like, I need to do it as soon as possible. And now it's far less about needing to do it as quickly as possible and more just about, number one, enjoying it, and two, just continuing to progress. Like, I don't care when this stuff happens. I just want to be able to do it. Like, I want to be able to do the front splits. I want to be able to do the side splits while holding on to my daughters. I want to be able to always be able to deadlift like three times my body weight. I always want to be able to do weighted chin-ups with however much, like 50 pounds on my waist. I always want to be able to jump onto like at least a 35-inch box. Like, I always want to be able to do this stuff. And if it takes me 6 weeks or 6 months or a year or 2 years, I just don't care. So I realized, as long as I'm trying to progress and I'm progressively overloading in a reasonable time frame, not like month over month, but every couple of weeks, I get the same work. I get the workouts in. I'm good. Like, and the 7-day week, it's a made up time frame. Like, we don't operate on a 7-day week. Our physiology doesn't operate on that. So I was like, why don't I just extend my week? That way I have a little bit more flexibility. And like, for example, last night I worked out at 11 p.m. It was supposed to be a strength workout, but I was freaking exhausted. So I just did an hour of cardio, which was like, great. Now I got a huge percentage of my zone 2 in for the week. And then today I'm going to have a much better strength workout.
It sounds like you've had seasons where you've aggressively pursued and focused your training and recovery on making major progress on a specific goal. Originally, it was powerlifting strength. Obviously, jujitsu skill would have been one. But now it sounds like you're just putting a lot of these qualities on maintenance mode while maybe focusing on one particular thing that's progressive. Is that how you're doing it?
I think it's a good way to look at it. Like, right now, my main goal is the splits. Like, that's the main thing. So those workouts generally take the longest. They take the most energy. I put the most into progressively overloading them. That's the, like, where my most mental and emotional energy goes into. Like, those sessions can be devastatingly brutal. And so I'll put the most into those sessions. And then the other ones, like maintenance. Like, I'm not trying to max out my squats, max out my deadlifts, max out my bench. Like, I'm still getting stronger, but at a much, much, much slower rate. So yeah, the I have one main goal and the rest is basically in maintenance.
Are you foreseeing future priorities in different seasons and different levels of intensity, especially as your girls grow up?
Priorities in my own fitness or priorities just in life overall?
Let's say fitness specifically, your routine.
Yes, I mean, I already know what my next goals are after I get the splits. So I want to get the splits, and the main reason I want to do the splits is because I want to have a picture of me holding my daughters while I do like the Jean Claude Van Damme split. Like, that's literally the only reason I want to do it. And it's because I think it's cool to know that they would have that picture for their whole life, and they would probably put it up in their house, maybe in their home gyms, and then their kids and their grandkids and so on would be able to see like, oh, that's my mom, that's my grandma, that's like with like on the lap of their father, like as he's doing the badass split. So that's literally the only reason I want it, just like a sick legacy picture with my girls. After that, I want to get a really, really cool handstand, like a good, not like a banana back, like straight up and down, locked in, sick handstand. And I would also like to get really good at muscle ups. Um, these are just things that they accomplish a lot at all at once. Like it's very hard to do these if you are carrying a lot of extra body weight, a lot of extra body fat. Like these goals, number one, are standard body weight mastery type goals, and also push you to keep your nutrition in check so you're not gaining too much body fat. Just they help you focus on all around fitness and nutrition without letting yourself go too much, if you will. So all of these goals are much more calisthenic, body weight based, which has been a fun change of pace for me. And it's also like I literally just made a post about how I think barbell hip thrusts are overrated, not because they're bad, but
I
mainly
saw
because
I saw Brett's response to that.
yeah, and his response was great. And ironically, like if you watch his response, he agreed with me. He was like, "Yeah, I don't do them unless I have access to a machine." It's like it was funny. Like the comments were really upset at me, but it's like
I
he
saw
agreed
that.
with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like he agrees. He doesn't do a barbell hip thrust because it's fucking annoying to set up. It's like when you do a lot of body weight stuff, it's great because there's nothing to set up. It's like it's a very quick workout.
I bought a glute drive for my home basement gym because number
Smart.
one, it's way easier to operate. And then like there's a spectrum of beliefs. Like if you talk to Jordan Shallow, and Jordan is a brilliant dude, Jordan will tell you it's the dumbest exercise ever, and he doesn't think it really has much of a place. But if you actually get into nuance, he'll even talk about the shortened position at the top. I don't want to get into the biomechanics of a hip thrust, but I think where most people are coming from and what Brett has always popularized is if your goals are big glutes, then you're going to do extra volume and stuff, and you need to train in different positions, Romanian deadlift type stuff, lunges, squats, get that stretch at the bottom, and but you also want to have a bridging, a loaded bridge position. So that's a
It's
little.
funny. It was really interesting for me to look because on my post, looking at the comments, and then on his post, looking at the comments, and it was a really good example of showing like you establish your niche. Like people on my post, when I post that, people are like, "I fucking hate that exercise. It's so annoying to set up. I would so much rather do X, Y, and Z." And on his post, people are like, it's the best exercise ever. I love it. I couldn't live without it." And it's like amazing. That's why we have different preferences and we can choose what we want to do. I was thinking his audience is obviously a very aesthetics focused audience, wanting to improve like how you look is like number one. How do you get bigger muscles here? Like that's the number one thing. And I was literally thinking as I was watching and reading the comments specifically, I was like, I'm so glad that that's not my focus. Like, I'm so glad that my audience isn't people who are like aesthetics above life. It's it's just not the coach I want to be. It's not the life I want to live. And the people that I work with and the people who saw my post and understood it, they were like, I want to be able to move well. I want to be able to be a high performer. I want to be able to sprint. I want to be able to jump. I want to be able to pick up my kids. It's like spending an extra 15 minutes to load the barbell so I can do a fucking hip thrust so I can maybe add, I don't know, a quarter of an inch to my lower glutes. Like, geez, like, okay, that's not my ideal client. And I'm very open about that.
There's something sideways on this too, and it's worth noting. You can follow and appreciate content from multiple people who have different belief systems. And every once in a while, and I saw one today. So an individual who debunks like very science-based stuff posts up a short clip that lacked context from another individual I think is a very good person who advocates for resistance training and good nutrition. And I saw again the comments and I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not touching this because I like both individuals. And I see the person calling out the other as probably like, hey, why don't we go after the charlatans as opposed to
Yes,
take short clips out of context about someone who's actually one of the good guys.
correct.
But with your thing, I mean, I saw and you saw what Brett did. He actually was like, okay, here's this thing. I'm gonna have some fun with this. But he actually was complimentary. He was very
A
kind with his
hundred
words
percent.
about you. And yes, I saw some of the comments that were like, who is this guy? Blah blah. Like it was nasty shit. I'm just like, okay, first of all, how the fuck do you not know who Jordan Syatt is? But you're right. you guys actually, there's going to be massive overlap, but a lot of different people self-select to different things. That's okay. And for the end user listening, it's like sometimes it's okay to go, there's more nuance to this than a short social media clip. These people are both good people, good resources, and it's okay to just kind of sidestep it and go, I don't need to get in the middle of this shit.
I thought his response was great. And it was actually, I thought it was genius because he used it as an opportunity to sell his product. It was like, it was genius from a marketing perspective. He was like, I don't like them either, and I won't do them. That's why I have this machine, which by the way, you can buy. It was like, honestly,
Smart.
super smart. I thought it was also there's nothing I disagreed with him in his post, and I don't think he disagreed with me in my post. The comments though, and then you get to see the bottom of the barrel of humanity, because people were coming after me because I'm Jewish, and it's just like,
Ouch.
bro, like what is going on in this comment section? It was that's one of the things I don't like about those style of posts where you call someone out. Even if you do it respectfully, like he did, you're gonna get people in the comments who are just gross.
Yeah. And it's a tough one because so I've got a good friend in the industry. He's a great guy, and he called out another friend of mine because again, one of those short clips out of context. They have two totally different types of message. She came in and she was crazy nice again. She was super awesome with him. And then I messaged the guy, I'm like, hey, she's one of the good guys. All right. So, and I wasn't trying to tell him, hey, take it down. But what I did say to him was, the comments are vicious. Some of these comments are horrible. And he's in this bind because like sometimes you don't have the time. If you have a huge account, like even yours, I bet you there's no way for you to actually go in and verify that every single comment in there is not some sort of like malevolent garbage, right?
Yeah.
And so, where's the burden of like policing this stuff? And it's a very tricky thing. So I also don't do call out based posting and I don't like it, but there's people I love who do, all good. But anyway, I pointed this out and I said to my friend, it's like, hey, can you go like deal with some of these comments? Like some of this stuff's awful. And he actually took the post down. And then later on, when he lost his account because he was being attacked by people, she noticed and she was like really thoughtful and was worried about him. That's the kind of character she was.
That's nice.
So,
That's really nice.
so one thing for me is like, I wish the industry would like kind of figure out, all right, who are the good guys? And maybe like don't like take these like short little clips out of context and swing at each other. Does that make sense?
Dude,
So,
I completely agree with you.
and for the listener here, if you're ever confused because two people you really like happen to disagree on something, like I said, it's okay not to pick sides. It's okay or to lean in and look at the context and go, okay, cool. There's actually merit to what they're saying.
Correct.
And they're not trying to kill each other, right? I mean,
Yes.
first of all, you and Brett fighting. We're talking Brett Contreras for anybody who's listening who's not knowing what we're talking about. I mean, Brett's 6'4", and you're not. So you know jujitsu. So I mean, like it would be really funny to like watch you climb up and like wrap your legs around his neck and like swing him around or something. But
I have no interest in fighting anybody,
no.
like at all. I thought it was a respectful post that he made. Like there was nothing he said that I disagreed with, and it seemed like we both agreed. So I have no interest of fighting anybody. That's especially over fitness stuff. That's what's funny is a lot of people in the comments who are consumers of fitness information get more riled up about it than the people who are working in the industry. The people who are the consumers of the information get often very cult like, and like, I mean, you could see anyone like following people following Paul Saladino or whatever, like you can even see this around the red dye, and you see this around the seed oils. Like I even mention that seed oils are totally fine in moderation, and I will get people jumping in, like wishing cancer and death upon my family, like because I dared to say, well, seed oils, they're totally fine in moderation, and people absolutely lose it.
It reminds me, I just had my friend Dan Feldman on, and Dan is wonderful. He's a registered dietitian, debunks nutrition stuff. And I think it was a year and a half ago or something, he messaged me and he had put up a post about the science and evidence on seed oils. And I guess some carnivore seed oil bros on Twitter got a hold of it, and then they just like swarmed. And so Dan's a very sensitive, sweet guy. So he's messaged me. He's like not getting any sleep that weekend. He's really stressed out. Like it's just like wrecking him. And I just messaged him, was like, is that a hill you want to die on? Right? That was my answer. And he's like, you're right. So I'm not interested in like fighting in that forum, in that arena, but I actually think it's good that people like you and Joey Munoz, who I also had on recently,
Yeah, he's
Lane
great.
Norton's fighting this stuff. Because what do we do? Roll over and let the lunacy take hold? I don't know
The,
the
the
answer, right?
the way that I see it is like, and this goes for everything, not just fitness stuff, but there have been times, whether it was fitness or life stuff in general, where I come to a turning point where I'm like, okay, I know if I post this, I'm going to get kicked. Like I know I'm going to get flamed from certain people, but I also know if I don't post this, I'm going to have a sinking pit of regret in my stomach, and I will not be proud of myself if I don't put this out there. And even if that means I lose business, even if that means I lose followers, it's like, what's worse, posting it and getting heat for it, or not posting it when you know you actually should have? And that's like the conversation you really need to have with yourself.
And at the end of the day, it will self-select the right kind of people to your message, the
Correct.
people who appreciate you and respect you. I've got a little analogy to this. I used to work at a casino. I used to deal poker years and years ago. And this is also how I always worked on, like when I was working at a commercial gym, the gym floor. Sometimes there would be a table bully, one person out of the 10 on the table who is loud, aggressive, obnoxious, hostile, and actually made the experience worse for all the other players.
Mhm.
Would berate people for how they played. Let's say someone got lucky, played a hand poorly, won, beat them. This person is just awful to them. And in general, I was usually pretty good at keeping the table bullies under control because I was a professional dealer. I ran a good game. They were usually okay. And I had enough respect for them that I could keep them from being an asshole to everybody else. But sometimes they're just trouble. Most dealers are afraid of taking on the table bully. And what they do is they sink, they cower, they avoid the conflict. But what ends up happening is the other nine people on the table don't respect that dealer. They're frustrated. And oftentimes they'll quietly leave and not come back.
Mhm.
And I've always had the attitude, and especially when it comes to gym bullies or just shitty behavior in gyms, I will deal with the discomfort of taking on the bully. And I've always held the respect and the appreciation of the other nine people. And those other nine people, in some way, shape, or form, they come back around. I still to this day train clients who I dealt poker to 17 to 18 years ago
I love that.
because of
That's a
shit
great
like that.
analogy. I love
Yeah.
that.
So let's go back to the lifestyle, the becoming a parent thing, because a lot of that was like your experience. How do you turn around and say to the person, the parent who is struggling to make time for their fitness, or the person who struggles with the narrative, always put themselves last because it becomes a very socially acceptable way to not take care of your own fitness and health when you have kids or you're caretaking someone? What do you say to that person?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's very, very difficult. And I will say, like, there's no one size fits all answer here, obviously. I'm not trying to skirt the question, but like
No.
obviously every family is different, every situation is different, like I'm super blessed in that my both my girls, thank God, right now, like they're healthy, like they sleep really well. It's relatively well considering they're toddlers and an infant, but like overall things could be a lot worse, right? And so it depends on the situation and all that. But assuming everything is generally okay and it's like you're working a lot, you're tired, you're putting everyone else first, like how do you prioritize yourself? I think there are two major issues, especially when people are in a similar situation where like somewhat sleep deprived chronically and also putting everyone else first. Is the number one issue is that they feel like they don't have enough time to do anything productive, and that last part is the key. It's they feel like they don't have enough time to do anything productive, and they don't realize that even small amounts are productive. Small amounts over a long period of time make a huge difference, especially in regard to not just maintaining your health, but actively improving your health. And so that's the first thing I'll sit down and talk with them is like, well, how can we get these, even like call them like exercise snacks, movement snacks? What can we do to do like get a little bit in throughout the day, even if it's not an hour straight or 45 minutes straight or 30 straight? What can we do for 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Um, are you watching TV? Are you talking on the phone? Like, can you go on a walk while you talk on the phone? Can you do some mobility or do something in this time frame? Also, I think one of the biggest reasons that I talk so much about walking is because the barrier to entry is so low, and almost anybody can do it. And the positive benefit you get from doing it is just outrageous. Never mind the physiological health benefits of it, heart health, cardiovascular health, all of that. For me, and I've spoken with especially people as they've gotten older. Like if you told me this when I was 18, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. But once you get a little bit older, and if you're having kids, like walking for me is my greatest stress relief. There's literally no greater stress relief than just going outside and getting fresh air. And if I can't go outside, then being on a walking pad or a treadmill, like just going on a walk, immediate stress relief, makes me feel better, actually improves my mood, increases my energy. And so stuff like this, finding ways to get little bits in, and not just telling them how to, but really educating them on how impactful it really is. Because if they don't believe that it's going to make a difference, then why would they do it? It's just why bother do something for 5 minutes if it's not going to make a difference, when in reality it does. So that's the one first thing, is educating them so they actually understand that it does make a difference. And if we look at, for example, the trans theoretical model of behavior change, if people don't know the benefit or the negative that's going to come from it, then they're not going to make the change. So education is the first thing you have to do. And I think the vast majority of people don't know how impactful small bits of movement or exercise can be. The other one is, and especially in parenthood and younger kids, is the tiredness, the fatigue, the lack of sleep. It's literally, there hasn't been a single time where I was ready to work out at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There hasn't been a single time where I've been like, I'm stoked to do this. Not once. And I like, out of many hundreds of workouts, literally hundreds, there hasn't been a single time at 10 p.m. where I'm like, let's fucking go, I'm ready. Like literally every time I'm like, fuck, I really don't want to do this. And I know there's been a huge push over the last, I don't know, probably 8 years or so. Like, hey, sleep is super important. Sleep is super important, which I'm glad it is. It is super important. And it is, I'm glad there's been a push for it. Like with everything in the fitness industry, there's a pendulum of extremes. And I think that it swung so far that people who are completely sedentary and not exercising and are not paying attention to their health are like, well, I need to go to bed right now. And ironically, they're sitting in their bed with their fucking phone in their face for another 2 hours before they actually go to sleep at midnight, when it's like, you could have walked for 30 or 45 minutes around your apartment, or like, you don't have to go outside, just walk around in your fucking apartment and
Isn't there
get
a
something in
study
before you go to bed. Yeah.
Wasn't there a recent study, and you'd know this, where they looked at when people are sleep deprived but exercise, that the
Yep.
exercise was actually like metabolically
Yes.
protective.
Yep.
Talk more about that.
When you look at, listen, it obviously depends. Like if you're only getting 2 hours, 3 hours, it's a major fucking problem. And if we're looking at people with sleep disorders, insomnia, it's a separate discussion altogether. But when you're in that like 5, 6, 7 hour range, and the cool part is you don't have to do it every day. Like you could prioritize the sleep 4 days per week and get that extra hour or 2 hours, and the other 3 days a week you could get a little bit less sleep, get that 6 or 7 hours or so, 5 hours if you need to, and you're actually going to have a better effect on your health physiologically, never mind the mental and emotional effects of it. But physiologically, you'll have more beneficial than just continuing to get that extra little bit of sleep. And again, I'm very glad the industry has been pushing for higher quality sleep. Ironically, I think people are reading about how important sleep is at midnight on their phone with the blue light in their eyes, and they're not going to bed. It's like, you keep reading about how great it is, but then you're not actually taking the advice. You should just get up and get some fucking exercise in, and you're going to have better sleep quality because you got exercise in. It's like a lot of people struggle with sleep quality. It's like, put your phone down, get a workout in, and then go to bed, or wake up a little bit earlier if that's what you prefer. But people not exercising so they can get more sleep all the time, I think is actually a bad idea.
There's something in here I want to highlight for the listeners, and I've used this. Hear what Jordan said about going and working out late. If you are a listener who, especially for like people who are hardcore Jordan Syatt devotees, they love Jordan, right? And I know a lot of you guys listeners are exactly that. You're here because you found it through Jordan's media. Channel Jordan as an avatar. If you are struggling with energy at the end of a day and you're thinking, and you just don't feel like it, what would Jordan do? And I see this with two good examples are my buddies Don Saladino, and not related to Paul, Don, and Luca Hosevar, who both been on the podcast recently. And they're maniacs, right? There's
Yeah.
non-negotiable with their fitness. Luca, you'll see him training. He's done coaching. He's like late in the evening. He's got to get it in, right? That's his whole mantra. And I look at them, I'm like, fuck, right? They can do it. I can do it. So for those listening who are plugged into you, if Jordan can do it, you guys can do it. I mean, that's a sweeping statement. Obviously, as you allude to, there's your individual context of literally what's going on in your world. But on the average, when it's, hey, I'm tired, and it's the decision between sitting down and maybe 2 hours in front of the TV, which is not as restorative as we think it is, or is
Correct.
scrolling, versus like, hey, I'm gonna go get some movement in. I think in a lot of those cases, you could have moved and you would have felt way better.
Dude, I completely agree. And actually, I love that you use that example because it's the perfect example of what's known as social modeling when you're trying to increase someone's confidence in their ability to accomplish a certain task. Looking at someone else who does it and has done it effectively and successfully is one of the best ways to increase someone's motivation and their own confidence in themselves. If they believe that someone else has done it, that's one of the reasons why showing success stories and progress pictures can be so motivational for other people, because they're like, oh, if they did it, then I can do it too. Um, it's a really wonderful tool, and that's why I don't do it every time, but very frequently when I work out late at night, I'll post a story of me doing it. I'll put the timestamp like, hey, it's 11, whatever. And I'm not doing it to brag. I'm doing it because literally every single time I post it, I get a handful of people saying, thank you. You got me up. Like, this is what pushed me. I got my steps in. I got my workout in because I saw you doing this. So I think it's a good idea to think about not necessarily how you're feeling in the moment, but either how you'll feel once it's done and or thinking about, okay, someone I know and admire, I know they're tired right now and I know they're doing it. So maybe I can do it too.
A little bit of late night Jocko Willing. Because funny, I was thinking earlier that you would not Jocko because you're not up in the morning, and allegedly Jocko doesn't sleep that much. And then there's a picture. If anybody doesn't know who Jocko is, just Google him. You're going to get a kick out of him. He's hardcore ex-Navy SEAL guy. And it's usually a picture of like a pool of sweat, the kettlebell, the chalk on the ground, and it's like he got it in, right? And you're just doing the late night version of it. Probably
Dude,
not quite as hardcore as that dude.
I would like to be I would like to do it in the morning. Like I would like to be that guy. And maybe one day I will be. Waking up and just going right into a super intense workout. It might be you know what it might be? I think it's the different style of workout because with that style of workout, and I don't know Jocko seems like a wonderful guy. From what I know of him, I respect him and
Mm.
admire him immensely. I don't know if he's going for PRs. Like, I don't know if he's trying to progressively overload or if he's just trying to get a hard workout in. And I would imagine when you and I work out, we're not just trying to get a hard workout in. Like, we're going for progressive overload. We're going for data. Like, this is what I hit last time. I hit this many reps. Now I want to hit this rep, this number of reps, or this weight, whatever it is. And I think it's a different mindset shift in your workout. When you're going to just get a hard workout in, regardless of what weight you use, regardless of how many reps you get, regardless of tracking the data, I actually think it's easier just to go balls to the wall. But when you're like, hey, I really want to hit this number on this thing, like I need to get myself in that mindset for it. Like I need to be in a good place for it. And for me, waking up and going right into that, oh my gosh, that doesn't, it's not conducive to my current personality in life. I would rather do it at night.
I prefer late evening as well. I think, okay, what's your take on how people should choose the timing of their workouts? What factors go into that?
I think the main factor is what can you be consistent with and what do you enjoy most? Those are by far the two most important ones. I know I get questions every time like, well, what's better for muscle growth? What's better for like it doesn't matter. Just whatever you can be consistent with. If whenever you can be the most consistent with and the one that makes the most sense for your schedule and your preference. That's for me. What about you?
Ultimately, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's criteria one, two, and three. And then maybe if you're the person who really likes to optimize this stuff and is flexible, and if your goal is muscle growth and strength performance, then I think there's some pretty decent evidence that we are going to be stronger if we're more fueled up, which means
Yes.
that a slightly later in the day workout. Anecdotally, I noticed the same. I recently, to accommodate something, I went in and worked out a leg day way earlier in the day than I normally do, 1 to 2 less meals. I still had a big breakfast, coffee, what have you. And I noticed that doing similar load and intensity really like spiked my breathing and my heart rate more so, and actually kind of tanked me. And I overdid it a little bit, which affected the rest of my workouts because I didn't adjust to the level of fueling. And it's the only logical conclusion. So
Yep.
that's a singular anecdote. However, it goes into, well, again, now what do you think about people who get up and train fasted?
I mean, I have no issue with it. It's more about like, again, I think it's like, how do you feel when you do it? I personally don't like eating on a full stomach. I don't like training on a full stomach.
I don't like
Um,
eating on a full stomach either, Drew.
Sometimes in the holidays I like eating on a full
Yeah.
stomach, but I don't like training on a full stomach. And so even if I do have to, whenever I'm working out, if I'm going to eat very light, like I eat very light, and I prefer to eat hours in advance because regardless, I mean, especially, it's funny. I made the biggest mistake when I was a blue belt in jujitsu. I had meatballs like 30 minutes before I started training, and it was like the worst decision of my life. But especially with a lot of this mobility stuff, it's been very interesting because whether it's the mobility or even like the handstands, I very quickly noticed that when I was inverting and going upside down with food in my stomach or even just a drink, it's like it affects my workout dramatically. And the mobility stuff is interesting because a general strength set, I don't know, it'll last what, 15 to 30 seconds or so. Whereas a lot of this mobility stuff, you might be holding something for 2, 3 minutes sometimes, which it affects how you feel when there's food in your stomach. And it's not just passively enjoyably holding it for 2 or 3 minutes. Like you're under strain. It hurts for that time frame. And when you've got food in your stomach for that, like that fucking sucks. So it's when I don't, if you want to train fasted, fine. It's up to you. But for me, it's I prefer that like sort of in between something, but hours in advance.
You have me now picturing you. So if I'm dating myself, but anybody who's seen like old like 80s, early 90s Jean Claude Van Damme movies, the training montage before whatever is going on, he's like some sensei type character has literally tied his legs and is like
Yes.
stretching him apart.
Yes.
He's being pulled between trees or whatever, shit like that. That's what
I
I'm
love it.
picturing. I'm
Yeah.
guessing that's probably not what you're doing. And when I get Lucas on, I'm actually going to probably go very in depth about a lot of the protocols.
Smart.
But
Smart.
I want to pick your brain on that, probably the more like everyday actionable stuff. Quick note on the fasted stuff. If someone gets up early in the morning, doesn't want to have food in their stomach, they can only work out in the morning. And then we get this question. One of the things I tell people is fuel up in the night before. You're
Yep.
not going to burn through all your muscle glycogen while
Correct.
sleeping, right? It's not
Correct.
going to be an issue. Or sometimes it's like, okay, drink a protein shake as you're doing it, a little bit of
Yes.
hydration, that'll actually do wonders. Maybe eat something like an apple. I think like those strategies could probably take care of most of this issue, but fueling up the night before, you're probably going to be fine. Okay.
Correct.
Don't
Completely
work
agree.
out like after a 20-hour fast. I just don't think that's
Yes.
probably a very good idea.
Yeah, I mean, you do it once. Like, I will say I've done that. There are some fasting holidays in Judaism, and so
Mm.
there are times where I've worked out, but it's one day. I'm not doing it chronically over and over and over again. And I know some people are like, "Oh, I do a week long fast." I'm like, number one, I think you're fucking lying. Number two, I don't see the benefit in it. Number three, like I wouldn't be working out super hard if I was doing that. So, um, occasionally, yeah, sure, but ideally, you wouldn't be working out after a 20-hour fast.
And you probably modify the training intensity even on that
Yes,
fasted holiday.
100%. Absolutely.
So the picture, the goal, the picture with the girls, how much of this is also like legacy fitness imprint, trying to hand that down, have them grow up valuing fitness as a part of the lifestyle?
I mean, that's a huge goal. And I think it's more of a separate goal. Um, I think, listen, one arguably the main reason we have a home gym is not for the convenience sake, which is, by the way, an amazing blessing. It's mainly so that they can see my wife and I prioritizing our health and fitness. And it's an incredible privilege to be able to have our home gym so that like whenever we want, we can go out there. But it's the splits in particular are not for my daughters to say, oh, like that's really important. It's more just everything we do is for that. Like the whole reason we go on family walks, yeah, it's great to get the steps in, but we do that so that they see that it's important. It's amazing family time. We get incredible conversations, and you can make movement a part of your everyday life and make it enjoyable and a fun thing that we do. It's so much of what I do now is like, okay, well, what do I want my daughters to find in a potential partner? Like, I want them to find someone who also prioritizes movement, who prioritizes conversation, who prioritizes exercise, who prioritizes um, taking care of their body mentally, physically, and emotionally. So the splits is literally like there are two components. One, I want to have that picture, which is fully selfish. Like, I just think it'd be sick to have that in their house and have all their kids and grandkids and so on see it. Number two is um I worked with Eric Cressy. I interned under him for a while, and I learned a lot from him, but I didn't really spend a great deal of time learning about the science of mobility and flexibility, and a lot of like the FRC stuff. Like, I didn't spend much time really diving into it, and I felt like that was lacking in my knowledge. And the same way I worked with Alex Viata, I wanted to learn more about cardio and capacity and zone 2 and all the different zones of training. Same way I've hired jujitsu coaches. I always try and hire new coaches to learn. I realized I think I'm lacking in the mobility department, and I want to improve that area of knowledge. So it's also like I just really enjoy learning about it, and it's so much of what I've learned, especially from Lucas, has gone completely against everything I've been told and learned about mobility prior.
Well, why don't we dive in? I mean, I'll do the full bore with Lucas,
Yeah.
but why don't you share some of the basic principles, some of the things that you had to unlearn, anything that's going to be actionable and useful now, even if it changes someone's belief system around it.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying I give such a huge amount of credit to Lucas for this, and I don't think he's the kind of person who will talk himself up, so I'll do it for him. He's just an unbelievably smart, intelligent, kind, genuine guy who gives away so much freely available information. And the reason I decided to work with him is because not only is he outrageously flexible and mobile, but he's also insanely strong. And I saw him doing shit, just outrageous feats of strength in outrageous positions of splits and bending and twisting. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, not, and he has a powerlifting background, super strong dude. We actually had a similar background. He also had the ability to express his strength in extreme ranges that I was like, I'm so jealous of that. And I realized I didn't know how to do it. That was the part that really irked me. I was like, I know how to get strong, but I don't know how to get as flexible as this guy is. Like, this guy has something to teach me. And that's why I decided to hire him.
Let's let's shout him out real quick. So it's Lucas Hardy, Range of Strength on Instagram. He's a great
Correct.
follow, smart guy.
Amazing.
Guys, go dive in, and I'll bring him on soon. He's already booked.
Yeah, he's amazing, outrageously smart, like scary smart dude, and just such a nice, down to earth guy. So here's what I'll say. So I think some of the major things that I always heard, which didn't always make sense to me, but the idea that stretching is going to make you weaker is one of them. Like, you shouldn't do stretching because it's going to make you weaker, which is just, at this point, it's an absolute joke. Anytime I hear someone say that, I'm like, you don't know how to stretch properly.
Super temporarily relaxes the neural tonus type muscle. So if you were to do some static stretching just before a max lift, it would have an effect, but it doesn't do anything lasting to interfere with your
So
strength.
so you just, there's so much nuance here, and you bring up a really good point. So you you specified and said static stretching, which is
Right.
important because you specified a specific type of stretching. And then you even specified more if you do that immediately before a maximal effort lift. All right, cool. So we know that if you hold a static stretch, and not just a static stretch, but a long duration, intense static stretch, so longer than 60 seconds before you attempt a legitimate 1 rep max, you might see a decrease in force output. But it's acute, it's a short period of time. And practically speaking, for the vast majority of people, like, who cares? You're not going for that level of max effort lift anyway. And you could hold a light static stretch for 30 or 60 seconds, and you probably wouldn't see any decrease whatsoever, without, as long as you're not going to like a significant end range. But what people imagine, if I just said, trying to think of a good analogy, if I said strength training builds muscle, or if I said like just strength training builds muscle, you'd be like, well, it's not that simple, right? Like, what rep range are you using? Like, what percentage weights are you using? What type of strength training? Is it calisthenics, or is it more like barbell? Like, how are you actually strength training? How you strength train, and also how you feel yourself, will determine if you're going to build muscle or not. Like, we know you can strength train and get stronger without building muscle, right? It's not as simple as just saying strength training. In the same way, it's not as simple as just saying mobility and flexibility training or even just stretching. Like there are many different types of stretching and different ways that you can work to improve your range of motion and have access to greater ranges of motion. Whether it's sorry, keep going.
I'm guessing, and you can clarify, but probably a lot of things you're doing is actively trying to control and actually build strength into end ranges. Some of that stuff's body weight. I mean, that's what the splits are.
Yes.
That's not
Yes.
passively just stretching it out, but you're actively trying to control muscle, right? And it puts a lot of
Correct.
stress on the muscle.
It's it is one of the most devastatingly painful and strength focused things I've ever done. Like when you see someone not just passively sitting in the bottom of the splits, like where they're resting, but when they're almost fully out, like Jean Claude Van Damme, when they're fully out and completely supporting their body weight at this end range of motion, that's if they don't have the strength to do that, they're not going to be able to hold themselves up. They're going to fall right through. So it's you're 100% correct. You are actively controlling your range of motion. You're controlling yourself in this super elongated position. And super is dependent on your current range of motion, but you could, wherever you are now, you go essentially to your end range of motion and you control it and you hold it. And you could do like the equivalent of cluster sets where you do pulses there. You do hold for 10 seconds, relax for 10 seconds. You do that for a set. But this idea that most people think of stretching, they think of static stretching. You just hold this for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and that's it. And that is such a small part of what Lucas has had me do. And the more I've looked into the research and the more books I've read and the more manuals I've read, static stretching is a very teeny tiny percentage of it's. I almost look at it as like if you look at a well-designed conditioning program, the hit workouts make up, I mean, Joel Jamieson just spoke about this recently. The hit workouts make up like maybe 5 to 10% of the total, maybe up to 20, depending on where you go. But 80% of your training is that lower intensity zone 2 work. Whereas most people, when they think about conditioning, they think about the high intensity work. When most people think about mobility and flexibility, they think of static stretching. When in reality, maybe that makes up 10 to 15% of it. And the vast majority of this is high intensity, strength based training in these elongated positions.
You just may not be strong or able to load a lot. I mean, sometimes your body weight is enough stimulus in some of those positions, like a stretch, like a stretch or a splits.
100%. 100. It's plenty. Like your body weight is plenty when you go to your end range. It's more often it's too much. You need to hold on to blocks or you need to hold on to something to reduce the
Mm.
load that you're putting onto it. Like sometimes your body weight is way too much for what you can handle.
How much of it is training your nervous system to tolerate those positions?
A huge amount, a huge amount. And I think that often that will come from like even those contractions. You'll do the like contract, relax. I would talk to Lucas about that. Like talk to him about like, what is the
Mm.
contract, relax, agonist contract method. Whether it's the PNF stretching where it's like you contract a muscle and then you get reciprocal inhibition on the opposing muscles. I mean, this is all essentially training your nervous system to allow yourself to go deeper and say, hey, like I'm safe here. I'm not going to get injured. And that's essentially what you're doing is you're training your brain to say like I'm safe, I can go deeper. And what's interesting to me is when I think about it, when someone dies before rigor mortis sets in, they're floppy. Like you could move them around, like their muscles aren't tight anymore. Someone dies, like muscles, like their limbs are going everywhere. You could bend them however you want. You don't know if they seemed like if their muscles were tight or inflexible when they were living, but now that they're dead and rigor mortis hasn't set in, like they're floppy as fuck. It's that's how we are. So it's not that your muscles are actually tight and preventing you from moving. It's that you haven't used that range for a long time, and your brain has said, "Okay, well, I'm not using it, so I don't need it." And maybe I like if I go into that range, I haven't strengthened that range, so then I'm going to get injured. So it doesn't allow you to go there. And so it's training your central nervous system and say, not only am I okay in this range, but I need to get stronger in this range, and then I can access it later.
You're developing a motor skill. An analogy that'll work here is because when people are trying to get maximally strong, there is a limitation to structurally how much you can lift. And
Yep.
outs and voluntarily, people generally can't use 100% of their nervous system's capacity to recruit muscle fibers and all the muscle fibers. Then you hear the stories about some grandma lifting a car off a kid, under like fight or flight.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
actually swim out to someone who's drowning. Like give them something to grab onto because otherwise they'll climb all over you and you'll die because they have superhuman strength. And that's fight or flight, adrenaline, 100% activation of what someone's physically capable of doing. But with training strength sports, you're actually trying, and I think of it as sort of a red line, and you're trying to voluntarily get as close to maximal recruitment as possible. Now there is increased injury risk if you're really at that edge, because what people don't tell you, if grandma picked up the car off the kid, her body's destroyed, like tendons and everything is just wrecked after that. There's no coming back from it in that specific hyperbole example. So I guess with stretching, it's the same sort of thing because you alluded to the dead body. We could go up to where we have bone on bone restriction in theory, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's exactly right. And I don't run a morgue or anything like that, but I would imagine that's exactly right.
And I guess there's also going to be genetic differences structurally between the way someone's hips are shaped, et cetera. So there are going to be
Yes.
differences in terms of theoretically what someone could possibly achieve.
Yeah, and there are simple tests you can do. I mean, like you can, it's funny if you're testing to see if you have like the bone structure, for example, to do the side splits, you just pick up one leg at a time and see how like you can pick up one leg at a time while you're standing and put it up on a table and see if you have the ability to go there. And most people are going to be able to do one leg to the side, right, up on a table, but they can't do it with both legs. And that's not because of their hip. It's because of their brain isn't allowing them to go there. And so it's a simple test where you're like, oh, well, how high can I passively lift my leg up and put it onto a table or to a couch to the side? And like, usually you're going to be totally fine and be able to do that unless you have some type of a structural issue with your hip.
This has been good. This is a nice little introduction to this stuff. Hopefully it opens people's minds and I'll have something deeper soon. So one last thing. Are you happier now with the balance of family life, or do you miss the intense grind? Because anybody who's dove into and I mean, we know the answer, but anybody who knows your history of work ethic and the blog writing, the long form content writing, the social media creation, the brand development, you wrote a book. The book wasn't even that long ago, but you have a long legacy of like flying around with Gary V, training Gary V, building your own online business same time. Reminisce about those days, but my guess is you wouldn't trade what you have now to do more of that.
Not even close. It is a really interesting question, and I think it's a good timing for that question that we could dive into. The reason I say that is because of this. So I recently hit a million followers on Instagram, and I've never made a post about like 100K, 200K. Like I've never done that for a number of reasons. But when I hit a million, I started getting people saying, "Hey, I noticed you hit a million. Congrats, congrats, congrats." And I wanted to make a post. And so I did a video essentially talking about how I am not happier now at a million followers than I've been at any other time in my life. In fact, there have been other times in my life where before I had social media, where other things didn't exist, where I was equally, if not more, happy. Now, at this point in my life, the greatest joy I have is from my wife and my daughters. Like without question, the greatest joy in my life. And I was thinking, I was like, listen, if I lost my Instagram, that would suck, but at least I'd have my wife and daughters. If I lost my wife and daughters and I still had my Instagram, I would kill myself. Like just, and that's unfortunate. Like that's not even hyperbole. Like I don't even know what I would do if something like that happened. You know what I mean? And I know it sounds scary to say, but there's nothing more important than my girls. And I in this world of social media where there's such an outrageous focus on how many followers you have and how many likes you get and how much money you think someone makes. I wanted to take the time to make sure people know, well, I'm so grateful for all the support that I have and for so many of the opportunities this has given me. The greatest things in my life are the things that have nothing to do with followers, nothing to do with money, nothing to do with anything, only my family. Like that's my family, my freedom, my safety. Like these are the things that every day I wake up and I pray and I say, thank God. Like I never say like, thank God I have this many followers ever. Like that's just, it's And I think it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I wish I had that. Life would be so much better if I had that. And almost forgetting to be aware of what you have staring right in front of you. So I have no desire to go back to the grinding of the Gary Vee days. I appreciate them for what they were, but man, it was bad for my blood pressure. And I love just being home with my I love being home with my family. I love it.
Has the scale of your media and brand recognition, because you're also very video face forward too, people know what you look like, has that changed even how you go out into the world? Has that affected you where I've reached a point where you get recognized frequently? And has it ever been inappropriate, especially with family, in a way that's made you go, I wish I could put this back in the box?
Um, I get recognized pretty frequently. Like usually if I go out, I'm gonna grocery store or like someone will say something and it's super nice. I've never had anyone be rude or mean. Like it's super nice and people are genuinely really, really kind. I actually have a very funny story about it in a second that I think you'll like. There have been times where people are like, oh, like what are your daughter's names? And I don't share it publicly. I don't share my wife's name. I don't share my daughter's name. Just they're crazy people. And most people I think are very good, but you just never know who the crazy one is. And I'm not willing to risk it. So there have been times where people have been like, oh, I know you don't share, but can you tell me? And I'm like, nope, this is Old Abe. This is Slim Jim. This is Nene. And like, especially if they're asking, I'm like, that's just weird. You know, I'm not going to share. But again, no one's done anything bad or wrong. Like it's always very kind. So yeah, so it's and I always love it when people come up and say hello. It's a wonderful experience and it's an incredible blessing. I love when people are so kind about it. So I am very fortunate that I haven't had any negative experiences in person. What the one experience that was funny was I was actually competing at a jujitsu competition, and this woman comes up to me and she was like, "Just want to let you know, I follow you, I love your stuff." Da, da, da. And we had a wonderful conversation. And then there are anyone with an audience is going to have threads about them on Reddit and all these different gossip websites.
Mhm.
At this point in time, I didn't know that they existed. I ended up finding about one. Someone was like, "Hey, did you know there was a whole thread about you?" And I was like, "Great." So I go and look at it, and there's this thread where it looks like about 5 of these people are going back and forth about how awful I am and talking poorly about my wife and all the stuff. Like, just it was what you'd expect on a gossip site from people who have
Mhm.
nothing better to do. And one of the people is talking about how like just talking shit about what I say and my wife. Like people would like make fun of my wife's voice. I was like, that's fucking weird. And later on in this thread, one of the women who was talking shit comes back and says, "Hey, so I just met him at a jujitsu competition. He was actually like really nice, and I really liked him a lot." And if you look back at this individual's comments, it was all mean, like not good shit, all leading up to that. But then after we met in person, she was really nice, and she didn't say one bad thing to me when she came up to me. But prior to that, she was spending a fair amount of time talking poorly about me online. But when she came up to me in person, it was like, "Oh, I'm such a big fan. Like, I love you so much." I was like, looking back on it, I was like, that's crazy because she wasn't rude at all. She ran up to me. She was super kind, but I had no idea that on the back end she was just talking shit about my wife and my wife and me on Reddit. It was a surreal situation.
It gets, I haven't dealt with too much of this because like we're sort of into a weird place with this conversation, but I've been asked, or I've thought about this. If someone said, "Hey, if you could have 1 million followers tomorrow," and like real followers based on like some sort of like going super viral, would you do it? And I'd say no, I don't want it. I'm in a great place. I'm definitely someone who has a very big following in the context of fitness industry. But then there's people like yourself, Dr. Mike Isertel, Lane Norton, Brett Contreras earlier, kind of in that million range. And I see the comments sometimes, and I
Oh yeah.
see how awful some of the stuff gets. And then I see people saying awful things about Dr. Mike Isertel, who I love. And if scheduling works out, you guys will get him on the podcast really soon. He's great. He's been a longtime supporter friend of mine. The whole RP crew, I love them.
I love
I've
that guy.
seen I've seen the things people say about Lane, and like that can't be good for Lane's emotional health. And sometimes I wonder when he's gonna finally say enough of this crap. And at that scale, it's hard to put it back in the box. You would have to literally just disappear from social media for a few years, and some people would notice, but maybe it would simmer down, right? the person who gets on the reality TV show and thinks that they're like all this season one Survivor people thought they were going to be Hollywood stars. Very few of them. Jervis was kind of cool. Richard Hatch turned out to be kind of a shitbag, whatever. But Rudy was cool as shit. We really don't remember much. And none of them became Hollywood sensations. And it's easy for me to say, oh, you don't have that. So that's a post-rationalization. Well, actually, no. I probably could, with where I am in the industry, start saying sensational stuff, hire someone to do and I want to play around with more video, but play the game in such a way that I could accelerate the growth of all this and reach that pinnacle. I don't think I want it. And what I rarely ever share, and I will allude to this late in an episode anyway, listening, I do deal with a bit of nastiness, jealousy, and resentment. Some of it's a little bit local fitness community. Now, I can still fill, a conference here locally with great supporters. And most of the people I've ever encountered in this industry are incredible.
Yep.
But you will deal with a little bit of resentment and a little bit of jealousy. People look at the opportunities that, you and I get. You and I have spoken at multiple events together. And well, shit, I remember I'm not even going to say his name because I think he's just an awful human being. But I posted up the event that you and me, first time we actually met in person. We've known each other online a long time. And Lane Norton was one of the people speaking with us. And someone had such a hate on for Lane, was in my DMs, commenting on my stuff and attacking me. Now, this guy's known for this crap. And we've only had one interaction before. It wasn't good. I know his reputation. And was full send on me because I was speaking at an event with Lane. And it's like, so for anyone listening, and this gets a little bit more like fitness industry coach type stuff, but careful what you wish for,
Yes.
With this stuff. So enjoy going about life without having, this kind of, in your case, I will use the word celebrity within the context of the fitness industry, but I'm glad it's been an overwhelming net positive for you.
It's an amazing net positive, and it's extraordinary blessings. But I think that the main reason I wanted to highlight is because it hasn't, that's not what's made me happy.
Mhm.
I could be happy in a fucking cardboard box, like in Tel Aviv would be like, that would be like, I'd be happy there. Now that I have my family, I don't want them sleeping in a cardboard box. But I've always been very interested in the research around happiness, fulfillment, and I know many people with way larger audiences than I have, way larger audiences make outrageously more money. And they're some of the most unhappy people I've ever met in my life. They're unhappy, they're stressed, they're anxious, and ironically, when they post on social media, they make it look like everything is good. They make it look like everything is great and they're happy. And this is how you have a positive mindset all the time. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, nope. I know for a fact that's not how you are. And by the way, I'm not talking about Gary. Gary's legitimately like one of the happiest, most fulfilled people I know.
Mhm.
It's other people, but there are so many great things that come from it. But I think a lot of people who have never experienced that life, never experienced it, just they don't know about the drawbacks of it and the issues that come with it, and also understanding that, trust me, it will not make you happy. And my ultimate goal is it's funny, when I was younger, my goal was I wanted to get to a point where I could do all my work just on my cell phone. I didn't want to have to use my computer anymore. And that was a big goal of mine. And like I hit that goal and that was great. Now my goal is to get to a point where I can just have a flip phone and I don't need to be on a smartphone. I don't want any social media. Like, I don't know if I'll ever get there. I don't know how long it might take if I do get there. But my next goal is get to a point where I can not work on my computer, not work on my smartphone, just only have a flip phone, use T9 Word like the good old days, and that's it, and be off of social media completely.
Okay, I picked up. So for the Spotify listeners watching the video, here's your book. Eat it.
Thank you.
So we got to give that a shout again. This is great. I mean, I think this is my favorite book for the end user. I think there are books that, the advanced coach, they're going to read this and go, yeah, I know all this stuff. But guess what?
Correct.
Curse of knowledge. Guess what? Who are we trying to help? The person who needs to step into this world. This is one of my favorite resources. So shout out to your book, Eat It. People can follow you at Syatt Fitness, Syatt Fitness. As if you don't have enough followers already. The few that are listening who don't already follow you guys, go follow Jordan. His stuff's amazing. You're real, you're genuine. You're someone I treasure in this industry and have been a massive influence on me in my career. Our conversations are definitely a catalyst for why I was able to grow social media. Some of you found me through there. But what other resources do you want to share with people?
Honestly, whatever you have to offer for like, don't get anything I have to offer. Just I think that you're an amazing guy, an amazing coach. If you're offering something, buy it from Andrew. I appreciate you having me on. I hope you always have a place to stay when you're in Dallas. I hope you come by.
Well, I'll be there. I'll be there for Raise the Bar in February. We'll be in Plano. So actually, let's shout that real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody, because you spoke there. I got you involved a couple of years ago. Actually, well, you were there 2 years in a row.
2 years. Yep,
So
yep.
which was incredible. So February, God, why do I remember this? 21st, 22nd. Event. I'll be speaking. Luca Hocevar will be there. Natalia Mello, Nick Shaw, Renaissance Periodization, Yves Guzman. Incredible list of people. There's a whole bunch more. Okay. And if you guys, because I know a lot of coaches listen to this, if you guys want to come, message me. I'll give you details for it. And then I'll let you know. I'll text you with my schedule and see if I can see you. We'll figure that
Yeah.
out if we can. And I don't have anything else. It's like, you know what my mission is? Anybody who's listening to this episode who's just found it through your media, this would probably be like the 10th or 11th of a rebrand. I've got over 300. You've been a guest multiple times. If people want to scroll back, they get tons of coach, career, fitness industry stuff from you. It's amazing stuff. These episodes are meant to be the general audience, the end user, the person we're trying to help. I'm trying to get this in the hands of more people. If you're enjoying this and you just found it, go and look at some of the recent episodes I've had. They're bloody incredible. Hang around, subscribe. You'll get the Lucas Hardy one that will come up soon. And give this to someone who you think, wow, this is someone who's got a young family. They're struggling with their fitness consistency. This stuff will be amazing for them. Share Jordan with that person. That's how you help me. That's how you help Jordan. It's always a pleasure to have you, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.